feel free to ask any questions. You have it on, okay. And let's get started.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry that I am the second string. And you know, I sat back this weekend and I have two 16-year-old twins. And I was telling them what I was going to do, and they're like, "You're nervous?" I said, "Yeah, you know, I'll do this. It's been a long time since I had to do this, only 4 months, but still, you lose a lot." So I was sitting there thinking about stuff, and I'm old. So here it goes. Just so you know, we're going to talk a little bit about Medicaid. We're going to talk about the Affordable Care Act and kind of where we were and where we are today. I think the Affordable Care Act was a good thing for the state of New Jersey, and we'll talk about why. But here we go. Medicaid was established. Medicaid is an entitlement program. It's not a benefit. You have to qualify for Medicaid. So it's an entitlement program created by Congress in 1965 as Title 16 of the Social Security Act. It provides health insurance for certain groups or categories of very low-income Americans. New Jersey has participated in this program since 1970. I say that, and when I was at work, I would be like, half the people weren't born in 1970. So here I'm not even going to ask that question. New Jersey, since 1970, for New Jersey, Medicaid is the largest social services program in the state. It provides health care needs for more than 1.6 million people in the state of New Jersey. Now, not that long ago, it was 1 million people. And then with the Affordable Care Act, I think the first bump was 300,000. We're up to 1.6 million people in the state of New Jersey receive some sort of assistance with medical care. An entitlement program, so we're under the Social Security Act, and Social Security itself has two programs. They have RSDI and they have SSI, which is Supplemental Security Income. The Supplemental Security Income is for low-income individuals who are over the age of 65 or disabled. You have to qualify. So there's an income limit and there's a resource limit. Medicaid is kind of the same in that there's a category, you have to fit a category, and there's no more resource test except for the age blind and disabled, but there is an income test. So way back when I started, there was only one way to get onto Medicaid, and that is you had to be a parent with children under the age of 18. Some children were covered up to the age of 21. Well, in the 80s, they decided to expand the program a little bit, and they called it New Jersey Care Special Medicaid Programs. So I don't know if you ever see that written, but it literally is a New Jersey Care ... Special Medicaid Program. Why is there a ... Special Medicaid Programs? Because we were going to get sued because somebody else had New Jersey Care as a program, so we had to come up with something. So New Jersey Care Special Medicaid Program, emphasis on pregnant women and young children. So where everybody else, so the first program was AFDC, Aid to Families with Dependent Children. Your monthly income back in 1996 had to be less than $507 for a family of 4. That was how you got onto Medicaid. A lot of people weren't on Medicaid at the time. We raised the limit for pregnant women up to 185% of the federal poverty level. Then 2-year-olds and up to 6-year-olds were at 133%. And then there were some older children that were at 100%, give or take.
I just want to interrupt for 1 minute. She is talking about the way that the program is implemented in the state of New Jersey. What makes this particularly confusing if you want to study Medicaid is that although it's a federally mandated program, it is implemented differently in all 50 states. So we're hearing about Medicaid in New Jersey.
Right. And we've been real lucky because we have been pretty proactive on covering individuals. We have a high income limit, but we also live in a state where we have high earnings, a lot different than Alabama. So, you know, that's why, so we went up to 185% for pregnant women, and then 133% and 100%. And so the program looked like a steps, like that. Well, try to teach everyone or explain it to somebody. Oh, your 6-year-old's not eligible, but your 1-year-old is. And it has everything to do with family income and how we look at stuff. That was in the 80s. And then in 1998-ish, we ended up, New Jersey got tobacco money from the big lawsuit. That seems so long ago. I don't even remember much about it. We got a lot of money. So at that time, that was Governor Whitman, and she had a policy person who was really interested in making sure that children were covered. So we had the step kind of thing going, and he wanted to even it out a little bit. So what they did with, at that time, that program was called Kid Care, New Jersey Kid Care. So what he did is he said, okay, everybody, all children over the age of 1, so 1 and under, 1-year-old, over the age of 1, that's how it was written. Over the age of 1 would be eligible at 133% of the federal poverty level. Pregnant women still at 185, children at 133%, and the parents were still under low income. They were still at that 507. Emphasis again, pregnant women and children. Why pregnant women? Because if I can get that baby, that unborn child to be healthy, then I have a healthy child. And it doesn't cost as much. But when you don't give a mom prenatal care, I think there was a study, and this study is old, I think it said for every $1 we spend on a pregnant woman, we save $3 on the infant. So it makes sense to, of course, give them prenatal care. So that was the emphasis back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So what we also decided to do was come up with a way to cover parents at a higher income. They did that by another very crazy thing, and I'll take blame for this. My boss told, well, I won't take all that much blame, but I could have fixed it and I didn't. The federal government said, okay, you want to cover parents, then you could do it. As I say this, I don't even want to tell you how we did it. But anyway, so we did it, and we did it through a disregard. Blah, blah, blah. So we were covering all parents up to, we were covering some parents up to 133% of the federal poverty level. That's still not that high. So anyway, Kid Care was good, and then all of a sudden, it was a political decision to call everything in New Jersey family care. So Medicaid is known as New Jersey Family Care. They don't see the word Medicaid a whole lot, except if you're talking to about age-blind disabled. So then CHIPRA came. CHIPRA, Children's Health Insurance Program. It was a program of the federal government introduced, and we took all those options. Basically, it said, okay, all pregnant women up to 200% could be eligible for Medicaid, another good thing. And then also, we were going to cover, there was a little expansion under Kid Care too. So we covered kids up to 133%, and then we decided we wanted to go higher, and we went up to 350% of the federal poverty level. And we did that as long as the child was uninsured. So if the child was uninsured, and again, $50,000 a year to live in the state of New Jersey is not that uncommon. So, I mean, most people make that. And if they make it, they're not making ends meet in the state of New Jersey with the housing and all that. So we raised the income limit. So now it looks like before the Affordable Care Act, pregnant women up to 200%, children up to 350%. But you couldn't have health insurance. Like some qualified for Medicaid, some qualified for plans B, C, or D. Because now we have plans A, Medicaid. Plan B looks just like Medicaid. Plan C, you have to pay a premium, and Plan D, you have to pay, Plan C, you pay a copay, Plan D, you pay a premium. This is just what we've been going through over the last 20 years of just trying to get it up to speed. So we did a little bit, and so before the Affordable Care Act, we covered pregnant women up to 200, we covered most of the kids up to 350, and kids are only covered up to 18. Some kids are 19 and 20 can get Medicaid. If they would have qualified for with their parents, but their income is too high. So that gets crazy, but that's how it was. So anyway, parents, again, some parents were eligible up to 133, not all. but some were. And that's we kind of straightened it out, and that's what we looked like back in let's say 2013. The one group that we didn't really cover, and they really, really needed it, were single adults. They're a group that didn't get coverage. They were your 22-year-old, they were your 32-year-old, they were your substance abusers, there was no program to go to except for general assistance. General assistance, the income limit for general assistance is $140 a month. $210 if you're disabled. Disabled being you can't work. You might have broken your leg. It's not a disability like Social Security calls for. It's just that you can't work. You're unable to work, and so at that point you can have $210 a month. Nobody lives in the state of New Jersey on $140 a month. You just can't do it. Unless you're living with your parents, okay, or living with somebody, but it's not, it's not like, oh, you make $140, you're doing good. No, you're not. So general assistance was a program that was administered by the welfare board. And also administered by the Division of what's it called, Family Development. It wasn't a Medicaid program. It offered assistance. So one time, we asked the federal government, said we need to cover these people. Because one of the things under Medicaid, you have charity care under Department of Health. So if we weren't giving them Medicaid, they were just going to the hospital and getting charity care.
Could you expand on what charity care is?
Yeah, let's see if I can remember what charity care was. It's really disproportionate share. We pay hospitals a certain amount of money for individuals that they provide care for because they have to. I think there's a rule in New Jersey that says you really can't not treat somebody. So if they were going to the hospitals had to treat them, and the hospitals weren't getting reimbursed. But they would get this charity care. That was actually a program from the Department of Health was doing that program. So there was it was a categorical thing. I mean, you had to go to the hospital, and your income had to be low, they would pay maybe a portion of their bill if their income was up to 250% of the federal poverty level. But if you weren't, it's all coming out of our money. It's all coming out of the state government. So, trying to expand Medicaid, and why do we want to do that? Because the federal government pays us for our Medicaid individuals. Sometimes they only pay us 50%, sometimes they pay us 65%, and under the Affordable Care Act, they're paying us 100%. It is not coming out of the state's money to cover all these people under the Affordable Care Act. So it's all about collecting FFP, Federal Financial Participation. That's a big deal. The governor's real hot, always hot on that. And so is the Medicaid director, because you want to try to draw in funds. But we have to match the funds. So it's not like the feds just give us all this money, except for the Affordable Care Act. That really is, of giving us all this money. So like the 50% that we pay for the age-blind disabled, they pay 50, we come up with the other 50. Kid care was 65%. And like I said, the Affordable Care Act is now 100%. So I went all over the place in, what's that, took me 3 minutes? Any questions? Because I know I went all over the place. Because I started with Social Security and then went off. Yes?
I have a question about, I'm a PA resident, my thing was about abortions, how do you, what government program sponsor that?
Which ones?
For women that want to get an abortion, or the pill
Oh, the abortions?
How do you, how is that isn't that
That's a good question.
Doesn't the government help pay for
Sometimes we pay for things with state funds only.
Okay.
I don't think the governor knows we pay for abortions. I don't think he knows that. I know Chris Smith doesn't know that, honestly. We pay, if it's medically, I don't think it's medically necessary, but if there's a medical
There's certain
reason,
categories.
yeah, that we can collect money from the federal government. But the truth is, as far as I know, we pay for it with state funds, unless we can draw down federal funds. Okay, so everybody knows I don't work for the state anymore, so ignore some of the stuff I'm gonna tell you. But around the office, that was like our biggest, like that was our big laugh. What do you think Chris Smith knows that we pay for abortions in New Jersey? Because he's out there, no abortions, and yeah, we pay for them. So anyway, but it is state funds. I mean, if we can't collect federal match, we really do it right, and we collect state funds. So sometimes it's state matching, and that's what we do. And whenever you use your state money, the feds don't care what you do. So you have a little leeway. So when we decided we needed to cover the single adults before Affordable Care Act came, we asked the federal government for approval, and they gave it to us. But again, you only got it, if your income was less than $140. So if you're eligible for general assistance, then you got Medicaid. Again, not a high income to help these people. I don't think we went to 1 on 33 until actually the Affordable Care Act. Yes?
You said before the pilot program, Medicare Medicaid has about 1.3 million.
1.6.
1.6 million now. Are you guys trying to help them possibly increase their income or not? Or is it more or less, it's just programs that keep growing and people are just going to stay on the program? Are you trying to move people off the program or?
Well, that's not the role of Medicaid. That was always the role of family development, like people on welfare. The typical, you get a check, and with the check you get food stamps now called SNAP, and then you also get Medicaid. That was a nice little package. And the income one was 507. I mean, it's really low. They had a whole program to get people from welfare to work. That wasn't ours. I don't know if anybody we have anything to say. That wasn't our emphasis. Our emphasis was medical care.
I know this is, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm even gonna write it, because these programs are so complicated.
Yeah.
So she talked about Social Security,
Yeah, I was gonna go back to that, 'cause I don't think I
and
finished.
there's like 2 basic programs of Social Security that people might be eligible for Medicaid. These are Social Security. And then, she talked about the overall welfare program. Okay, these are just federal programs. These are federal programs implemented at the state level, so every state can be different. Okay. And the standard welfare program used to be AFDC that she talked about. In 1996, I know these programs can make you crazy. In 1996, there was a major welfare reform program in the United States, and it switched from aid to families with dependent children to temporary assistance to needy families. And I'm getting to your answer, Jeff. So as a part of temporary assistance to needy families, there was a major push for mothers who were on welfare to get them off welfare and to get them working. And generally, the program resulted in huge decreases in the welfare rolls and huge increases in the number of poor mothers who were working. But as a part of this program, the TANF program, they didn't want to discourage mothers from working that would result in their kids being uninsured. So that was also one of the expansions of Medicaid for children. So Elena talked about the tobacco money, but it was also a big influx of federal money to subsidize children of mothers who were no longer on welfare because the welfare program was encouraging them to work. So the two basic programs to encourage people to work are the TANF program, which sets a limit on how long, only 5 years you can collect welfare, and penalties if you don't comply with the program, but then we'll give your kids, health insurance. So they expanded health insurance for kids, so that to try to encourage. So in that way, they were tied together, that they were encouraging people to work. And then there's another program that encourages work, which is just a tax credit for everybody, not just for mothers.